your financials. You are not quite feeling financially stable. Sometimes you're overwhelmed by having wanted to change the car you've been driving for a long time. And it can be very frustrating. You're just overwhelmed. Sometimes with our spouses, as many of you, maybe this class doesn't know, but everybody in Daystar knows that I've had a sick wife for the last 15, 16 years. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming, like it's Christmas time now and it's coming up, and you know that you can afford a holiday, a nice holiday with her. Now that the children are grown up, sometimes you get overwhelmed and I'm talking at a personal level, you find it very difficult to maneuver, to balance out. So if any of you are feeling overwhelmed in whatever aspect, please spend some time with your Heavenly Father to find serenity. And I would like one of you to go to Psalms 131. Psalms 131. And just verse 1 and 2. So can I have somebody volunteer to read that Psalms? Remember, my message today is peace in the stillness.
Yes, Prof, I can read. This is Othello.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Please read for us Psalms 131, 1 to 2.
Okay, so I'm reading from New King James Version. Simple trust in the Lord. My title is Simple Trust in the Lord, a song of ascents of David. Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor my eyes lofty. Neither do I concern myself with great matters, nor with things too profound for me. Surely I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with his mother. Like a weaned child is my soul within me. End of verse 2.
Yeah. So I want you to think about the last time you walked into an arcade, or an arcade. I don't know, we don't have many arcades in Africa, but a mall or even a park. What was the experience like? Probably 1,000 things vied for your attention. When you enter a supermarket, including bright flashing lights, singing Christmas music, cacophonous music, and crowded walkways, people trying to jostle and move up. And in all likelihood, it becomes hard to focus. And even if you're with somebody, it becomes even impossible to have a conversation. So everyday life can also feel like that sometimes. Is that too much input? Too much input, there is music, there is TV, there is the exam coming up. Ayiro is talking about quizzes and assignments, Sitati, Kegode, they're all bombarding you, the place of work, their expectations, deliverables, too much input and not enough time to process everything that's going on. So it's no wonder that we struggle to hear the Lord's still small voice. And we'll not read this because of time, but it's 1 Kings 19:12. We struggle to hear the Lord's still small voice in all of it. You know how fast we wake up in the morning at 5 or 4 o'clock and in the shower, and you're doing this and you're trying to do your stretch exercises in the room, and your time is running, and for me the driver is waiting because I told him we should leave at 5:30 for Nairobi. So sometimes you struggle to hear the Lord's still small voice. Maybe somebody else read us Kings 19:12. 1 Kings, I think is important.
1 Kings.
1 Kings 19:12.
May I read kindly?
Yeah, still small voices from KJV, but you read us from NIV if you have whatever. Tell us.
NIV. Okay.
Yeah.
1 Kings chapter 1 verses. 1 Kings chapter 19. Which verse kindly?
Verse 12.
Verse 12. Thank you.
Mm.
After the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. Yeah. Do I proceed?
Yes, a gentle whisper. So sometimes, no, just that. We fail to hear the Lord's still small voice. I think Jesus faced this same problem, which is why he made sure to get away and spend time with his Father. Somebody go to Mark 1:35. Mark 1:35.
Mark 1:35 says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed.
Yes. So I'm also asking you to find time to get away and spend time with your Father. Psalms 46:10. Any other reader?
Yes, Prof, I can read Psalm 46:10.
Yeah.
46:10. Be still.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yes, can I read Psalm 46:10? That is still New King James. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. 46:10.
Yes. So Psalms 46:10 calls us to stillness. Stop striving.
One of my favorites.
And knowing that I am God. Stop striving and know that I am God. So to enjoy this continuous inner peace, we must periodically pause everything and let our soul become aware of the Holy Spirit's presence. And in today's reading, David described it as being like a weaned child at perfect rest in his mother's arms. So I would urge all of us sometimes to intentionally slow down or slowing down
Did we lose Prof?
I am saying intentionally slowing down. The internet is troubling me a bit. Intentionally slowing down can be difficult to do, but experiencing the serenity and rest God provides is a gift well worth seeking. We shall just take 10 minutes to hear what your experience has been in this matter of slowing down and staying still. To have some time to engage, as the reading says. I like what it says here. Just pausing everything and letting our soul become aware of the Holy Spirit's presence. That in all this clutter, in all this noise and running around and everything else, there is God. And we can spend time with him and get the peace we are looking for. So I'm talking about, remember, peace in the stillness. Peace in the stillness. All right, can I have some interjections, comments to that devotion? It's a very brief devotion today.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, I'm not seeing hands up, so I'm not. Is it my net? Or yeah.
Good evening.
Who is that? Who is that?
Amata.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you for that sermon. It was a brief one, but very, very rich. Sometimes we get into panic mode of situations we don't have control of, and that's where I tend to pick this verse that the things we cannot control. Therefore, we just need to let everything to God and be peaceful and just pray so that He can take over and maybe lead us out of the situations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stella Sanya, and then Nenlo. Stella, you there?
Good evening. For me, my takeout from the devotion on being still is also knowing which season you're in. Because if you know your season, you'll be confident in what you're doing. For example, right now we're in a season of learning. Therefore, you should be able to prioritize and not try to do so many things at the same time. So you're confident that even if you're not engaging in other activities, whatever you're doing right now is still beneficial and still fruitful. Therefore, you're able to let go of everything else and focus on what you have. One of the functions of not being still is trying to do so many things and even having some sort of fear and anxiety on missing out. So knowing your season and being focused on what you're doing in that season.
Very good. Othello?
Thank you, Prof. I like this sermonette and the devotion that we got today is a really eye opener and kind of awakening. And I just thank God for the grace that He has given you to pick out these things and challenge us and admonish us each time when we come from class. And if you get overwhelmed, I teach courses that are mostly skills based. And I go to class there in RP. I say, okay, these guys are doing their project. We are in a period where they are doing their project now, and I plan to always be with them, because if you say they are going to do this thing by themselves, you may not get good results. So I always plan to be there with them, and then they will come ask me, what should I do with this? Just say, hey, I thought I would have some few minutes to be able to do some of my assignments. Now let me just attend to these guys. So this being overwhelmed with work, we need to actually give ourselves time to listen to God's voice. And then Prof was giving me a very interesting scenario about getting up in the morning and doing this and doing that to be able to get out of the house. And that's something that happened. And I have a testimony to give to this class, but I just want to mention that. Then at some point, if I'm given the opportunity, I'll just testify when we don't have a lot of work to do in class. And then Prof will be able to give me that time. And it was during devotion time, during my quiet time. I'm just telling my colleagues, just postponing your quiet time is not good. When you postpone, you don't know what may happen. You will not get that time. That's what happened to me. And then when I testify about it in church, my bishop was, the pastors and the bishop just laughed, because I was to do my devotion, my quiet time, and that particular time, that was in 2015, and I said, let me rest a little bit, then I'll do my quiet time. And I found myself in sleep until 4 p.m. when I saw the Lord Jesus in my dream. And then when I woke up, I went to do my quiet time. So maybe I'll testify about this later on in our interaction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, my plea is for all of us, me included, to really, and I don't know whether the English makes sense, but search for peace in the stillness of God. Find time to be away and listen to the continuous inner peace, if we are looking for it, and let our soul become aware of the Holy Spirit's presence. Sometimes you ask yourself, what is God telling me in this one? What is He telling me in this one? What is the lesson for me to learn? So it's very important. Thank you very much. Now I would like to go to our policy analysis and measurement. And I did ask you to work on a very important aspect of selecting the criteria. Remember, the process is eightfold. So selecting the criteria that you will use to pick out the alternatives is very important. And I hope that some of us already are getting the feel that criteria in this case is around efficiency, is around enhanced efficiency, is around desired effectiveness. And of course, it will be determined by the cost-benefit analysis. So we will truly get ourselves into all these aspects. And I hope you're beginning to notice that policy analysis is a dancing target. And that it is just up to you to construct the logic that will allow you to identify the problem. Remember, the first thing, to be able to, step one, to define the problem. Step two, assemble the evidence. Step three, construct alternatives. Step four, select the criteria, and then project the outcomes to an audience. And you confront the trade-offs as you continue on to deepen, decide, and focus on the policy paper and tell your story. So I am hoping that we are beginning to see that. And last week, when we looked at efficiency and effectiveness and politics, I'm again hoping that many of us are beginning to make sense. And so before I look at selecting the criteria, I would like to really emphasize the area of ethics, the area of politics, and the area of public opinion in policy analysis. We have chosen the health sector not because we want to run away from the education sector, no, but just to show you that policy analysis traverses across all sectors, and we can pick a sector and work with it and still discuss all the other sectors of our governance, of our economy, based on what we'll have learned from this aspect of the health sector. So allow me to share this small document. Then I want to invite some conversation from the class on all this. Just a minute. Let me try to share this document. And I'll be inviting a lot of discussion. Let me see if this is the document. Yes. Because selecting of the criteria continues to evolve very elusive aspects that measurement is not as easy as we would like it to be. And I also want you to know the difference between avoid confusing alternatives and criteria, and results of that. So when we analyze different health policies for efficiency and relevance, just like we analyze different education policies, different security policies, different agriculture policies, different security policies, transport policies, we take many different factors into consideration. And I just want to touch the role of ethics, politics, and public opinion in health policy analysis. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for alternatives, but I'm also looking for criteria. I was told to ask somebody, Evans Lusasa, you told me to ask who to read in the diaspora. You advised me to. Who is that?
Henry Mossetti. Henry Mossetti. I don't know if he's in class.
Mossetti, are you in class? I seen Mossetti. I'm looking for him. No, I don't think Mossetti is in class.
Let me reach out to him.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Maureen Gunjiri, are you in class? Maureen Gunjiri? This is very interesting. Caro, I would want you to open this class up so that I'm seeing these people literally. And I want you to start putting an asterisk on these people who are on the platform, but they are not there. I'll be interested to know their mindset. Must be an interesting one. Rhoda Cheng, are you there? Rhoda Cheng? Wow.
Yes, Dr. I'm in.
Yeah, Rhoda, can you save my face? Analyzing health policy. Can you read us that?
Okay, I'm reading Analyzing Health Policy. Njoki has been interested in healthcare policy.
Is that Njoki?
Njoku, I mean.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Njoku has been interested in healthcare policy for many years. As a child, she struggled with medical issues, and now she is preparing for a career in a healthcare profession. From both the perspective of patient and provider, Njoku knows that health policy can make an enormous difference. After all, the way that providers are able to help and treat patients is often guided by rules, laws, and policies that are to some extent beyond their control. Njoku wants to form an understanding of the different issues and philosophical frameworks that play an important role in the creation and analysis or thoughtful interpretation of health policies.
Yes, I just want you to note the class analysis is walking through the 8 standard points. But very importantly, analysis sits around alternatives and criteria. Alternatives and criteria. And I want you to go to your sector and convince yourself that whether it is an education policy, an agriculture policy, a finance policy, you saw the finance bill, it does make an enormous difference, because then that is turned into law and guidelines. And it will guide in the health sector in how you will treat patients and help. In the education sector, it will guide how pedagogy will be carried out, how examinations will be evaluated, certification, and the various forms of instruction. In agriculture, it might bring in subsidized fertilizer. There are issues around distribution. There are issues around cost. There are also issues whether the provision of subsidized fertilizer does increase the agricultural outputs, because people continue reading.
The role of ethics. First of all, Njoku thinks that ethics, or the philosophical understanding of what is right and wrong, is an important aspect of analyzing health policies. For example, many health policies are oriented towards keeping people well, even if they are making different choices of themselves. Njoku knows that some cities and counties are implementing public health policies that make sugary drinks taxed at a higher rate to try to combat obesity and related health issues.
Carry
I
on.
continue.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this is an ethically sound choice because it is oriented towards caring for the broader good of the population. On the other hand, it is ethically questionable from the standpoint of prioritizing individual free will and freedom of choice. An analysis of such a policy will ask the analyst to think carefully about which ethical precepts matter most. Similarly,
no, just pause there. Yeah. As we get into alternatives and criteria, ethical considerations come into play. And this case, there is the individual good and there's a public good. Those of you in education, you have heard of 100% transition. That is a broader good of the population, caring. But then when you have vast disparities, can we mute our speakers? When you have vast disparities between students in Mandera, students in Tana River, and students in Nakuru or Nairobi, for that matter, then ethical issues come to the surface. And I want you to bear this in mind before you start designing policy briefs and giving us criteria and, of course, the alternatives, all these things come to the surface. So let her finish the reading, then we'll open for discussion. Continue.
Similarly, Njoku knows that policies protecting patient confidentiality and privacy are based on the desire to do what is morally right by patient, but these policies can sometimes make life difficult for doctors. For example, it is important for doctors not to expose patients' private information to others in the community. This can be a real challenge for doctors who treat multiple members of the same family or friendship group and feel they might learn more from talking to them about one another. Doctors sometimes struggle as well with the ethics of prescription management. They must consider whether it is best to treat a patient's acute pain or withhold medicines that could easily result in addiction. Usually, the ethics involved in creation of health policy are not unambiguous. They require careful analysis, and there are often different possible perspectives on the ethics of how they will play out.
Yes. I would like us to get into some discussion. Remember, we are now almost ready to provide alternatives to a certain problem in terms of a policy document, but we are also must be aware of the criteria. I repeat, alternatives are causes of action, whereas criteria are mental standards for evaluating the results of the action. Sometimes I think it is semantics. I would like to have some argument there. But we are trying to internalize the role of ethics, and not just in health, but in all the other sectors. So I want us to go into a bit of discussion here. And you don't have to stick to the health sector. You can bring in other sectors, but you have to argue. Like here, I would be asking you, what is the wall between individual consideration and public good? Yes, we are open for discussion. Have you encountered policies that are conflicting in terms of ethics? Both at national, county, institutional level? Because these are, when we talk about policy analysis, this is what we're going to deal with. Sam Nyabera, thank you.
Doc, Prof, I'm wondering, sticking with the healthy policy, I'm wondering whether the Hippocratic oath that doctors take before they start working constitutes a policy. And I'm imagining a situation where a doctor has a patient who is terminally ill and suffering from excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And the doctor is here wondering whether they can switch off the life support machine or just let nature take its course. And I'm thinking, And especially if you think about maybe some family members are urging the doctor, to do whatever they can do to save their loved one. Whereas you have other family members who are saying, it's okay, it's not good to see our loved ones suffer this much. We can understand if the life support machine is switched off.
Mm.
Just thinking that the doctors must be having such a hard time, making a decision based on the Hippocratic Oath, especially.
Mm. Good thinking. Do you have any other input on the role of ethics in policy analysis? Ocheng, Madiang.
Hi, Doc, and I want to hope that you're speaking of Oluoch Madiang.
Yeah, Oluoch, yeah.
Yeah, Ochieng was born when the sun was really up there. Oluoch was born when the clouds are really forming, ready to rain. So we are totally different in spirit. But good to see you and everyone else. I wanted to share that one of the most current policy issues we are dealing with right now is the right of minors to give consent to access and take up adolescent sexual and reproductive health services. One of which, for example, was HIV testing services. The national health guidance put it at 15 years old. They can go in and give consent to ask for the test. Yeah. Now, the Children's Act 2022 that has come up is saying that for matters adolescent sexual and reproductive health amongst young people, there must be first consent from the parents or guardians. This is becoming really problematic because we are finding situations where the young people themselves are at conflict with the parents in the first case, and the parents themselves also are at a loss in terms of how to go about taking their kids along with taking the reproductive health issues. The worst of it is that healthcare providers are now reluctant to provide services to children without disclosing, because that goes against the Children's Act. And so right now there is a campaign again to try and modify this in terms of ethics, in terms of practice, in terms of the realities that we have. For example, in Homa Bay and Migori, they are leading in teen pregnancies, if you take away the northern parts of the country. And access to reproductive health services may help reduce this status, of course, besides other interventions. So right now we are grappling with the issue of teenage or young people's consent to receive reproductive health services. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Valuable input. And we are discussing, there's no right or wrong answer, but this is supposed to enrich your perspective as we go along. Stella Sanya?
I can give an example from maybe the ICT side.
Yeah.
With the growth of mobile lenders, you've seen them, Tala, Branch, but okay, those are the top that I can think of, but there are many others. When you get into the app, sometimes they don't let you know that once you consent to the terms and conditions, they have access to your contacts. And in the event you default to pay the loans, they start contacting the people in your contact book, telling them that you have defaulted your loan and you need to pay back. So in terms of data privacy and even protection of personal data, that is wrong. It's actually illegal. However, because it's not, yet fully embraced in Kenya, and even putting controls on how mobile lenders behave, there's still a breach in that, because you'll then see other lenders like banks behaving that way.
Mm. Mm. Okay. Ethical issues, yes. Othello?
Thank you,
Yes.
Prof. Some of the things that we on ethical issues here, Prof, with your many years of experience in education, in this topic that you brought up on healthcare and especially the ethics is a critical one. For me, a healthy population makes a healthy nation. Many times we are left at the mercy of doctors who should be, and I think our brother mentioned that about the oath that the doctors take. I'm sure maybe Prof may have heard some of these things that I'll be mentioning here. Some doctors, you go to the hospital, somebody is taken to the hospital, they look at the status of the person that is coming here, the patient that they are treating, what's the status, and then maybe your problem does not require a surgery. But those people, because they want to get money from you, they will tell you that you need a surgery. You have to go through a surgery. That kind of thing. This is ethical for me. And a woman is pregnant, she's supposed to deliver a normal birth, a normal delivery. But she will be told that the family will be told that she requires cesarean operation. These kind of things, and I've heard a lot of it. Having been in the media, I've heard a lot of it. And more recently, there was a conversation, Prof, this is very disturbing. There was a conversation by doctors in hospital overheard. These doctors were conversing and talking about completing a house in Rwanda, looking forward to doing operation on a number of high-value patients. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, ethical issues. And now, how do you formulate policy? How do you give, how do you modify? How do you reinforce? How do you document policy that will help people overcome this obvious predicament? I just want all of us to note as we move that as you do policy analysis and as you try to give us alternatives and even select the criteria, it is so important for you to factor in the position of ethics. I want us to look at the role of politics. Judy Maina, I don't know whether you are online. Judy Maina?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you take us with the role of politics?
Okay. Joker has also seen the role of politics. Joker has also seen that politics
That's
can play...
Joker. Who is this person?
Joku, sorry.
Yeah. Okay,
Joku,
go ahead.
Joku has seen that politics can play a major role in health policy creation, both in the case of individual clinics and hospitals, and on a broader governmental level. For example, Njoku has an internship in a clinic where most of his patients are from high poverty neighborhoods, and many of these patients are strong political advocates for policies that make their healthcare less expensive and more accessible. This political lobbying on their part, plays a big role in how policies are created and read in their area. On the national level, Njoku knows that there has been tremendous political battling over the extent to which the government should take responsibility for financing individual health care. These politics are influenced by economics, the strong lobbying power of insurance and pharmaceutical companies, as well as advocacy by patients' rights groups.
Carry on.
Sorry?
Carry on.
Okay, sorry. I think I've lost the role of public.
No. These here.
Oh, sorry. Yes. These battles play out constantly on county and national. Play out constantly on county and national arena, but through her practical work in the community, Njoku sees how their outcome really impacts the healthcare individuals and families receive.
Yeah. As a student of policy analysis and measurement, the role of politics is very critical. And I don't know how you would ever overcome it. Right now in the country, we are going through a policy shifts around treatment, insurance, and already the government is lobbying for a certain levy or taxation towards that. And the people who feel otherwise, but you have to put that into consideration. And so, as a student of policy analysis and measurement, you will have to grapple with the role of politics in policy formulation. And it is really important that you carry this along, the role of ethics and the role of politics in policy formulation, because you will not overcome or come up with a policy analysis if you don't factor these aspects into consideration. You will not have provided the right alternative. So that's what I would like us to note. Leah Ongaya, are you on? Leah?
Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
I've just joined in, but I'll go ahead.
Okay.
The role of public opinion. Finally, Njoku knows that public opinion, or the general thoughts of individuals and groups about how healthcare should work, can have an impact on how health policy and its analysis play out. For example, the public did not used to be aware of the dangers of cigarettes on a medical level, so policies banning cigarette smoking were very unpopular and hard to pass or support. As the public became better versed in the negative medical impact of cigarettes, there came to be a significantly more support for policies like age limits, heavy taxes on cigarettes, and limits on smoking in public places. In turn, these policies begged analysis for the extent to which they then influenced public opinion, as well as their long-term impact on people's pulmonary health and behavioral choices.
Yeah, pause there.
Okay.
And I hope you know that as a master's class, I am giving these examples to stir up your mind and look at the various spins that exist in policy analysis. Like this one of smoking. Initially, nobody imagined that smoking would be banned in this country in public places. But with time, people became, with a lot of information and awareness of the dangers of smoking, the public became more amiable to policies that did not allow smoking. And now you get offended if you go into a place or a vehicle and somebody is smoking. That wasn't the case. So again, what influences public policy is public opinion. So sometimes if you want to pass some of the worst policies, you first of all work on the opinion of the citizenry. And by the way, I don't know whether we can actually measure, as I was putting down these thoughts, I don't know whether we can actually measure the extent to which policies are influenced by public opinion. Recently, we had the finance bill. I don't know how much influence that bill had. I mean, the public had on that bill. The long-term impact, like in this case of smoking, cigarette smoking, on the pulmonary health, of course, is the health around the lungs. Pulmonary veins are found in the lungs, around the lungs and the heart. The long-term impact on people's pulmonary health and behavioral choices has been profound in our country, at least in Kenya. So how do we get the public behind our policy alternatives and criteria? Maybe that should be the first step. Then things would go right. I would like the people in the education sector to see the struggles CBC has had. And one of the big reasons, of course, is just public opinion has greatly influenced the intended or the checkered implementation of CBC that we are witnessing today. So as a policy analyst, I want you to be sensitive to the fact that politics, ethics, and public opinion are very strong determinants of getting people to understand the usefulness of a policy or create the interest in that policy or ensure the effective implementation of that policy. Can we have some comments on public opinion? Does it matter? Does it matter? Yes, we have two hands up. Oloch Madiang and then Boaz. Yeah, let's go.
Sorry, Prof, mine is a legacy hand. I give it up.
Okay, Boaz. Yeah.
Boaz, make one.
Boaz,
Thank
go ahead.
you, Mwalimu. I think public opinion matters. And indeed, I would start from another earlier question you had asked, whether public opinion is also measurable. And really we have witnessed in Kenya. Hello?
Yes, we are getting, please, and, all of us, let us mute our mics apart from mine. And Boaz, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm saying public opinion indeed is measurable. And that is why opinion poll, people's perspectives or preferences when it comes to certain issues or policy choices. And indeed, in most cases, even in the development world, that really holds some sway because it even dictates the direction of politics of a particular country. And fortunately, in Kenya, I think the public opinion is normally overlooked. And we've also seen cases, I think you did ask the aspect of the finance bill, which now became a law of 2023. In terms of the evidentiary material, based on the submissions that the people made, professionals, people who are really knowledgeable about the matter, you'd realize the analysis that was done was that more than 90% of the material submitted was indeed counter to what eventually passed. But also just even the public opinion. I think there was this Ambithos from Infotrack did carry out a rapid survey just to gauge the feeling of Kenyans, and that is on the opinion. What do they think should be done, or which direction should that bill or the provisions that were being proposed therein take? And indeed, I think it was very clear that the public, I think more than 60% of the public indicated that the kind of taxation measures that were being introduced were really not helpful given the conditions of where people are, the cost of living and all that, and particularly on the fuel costs. So to the extent then that public opinion was palpable, could be felt, and indeed, I think anybody who wanted to take that into consideration would have cast the lot with the public. But I think the politics probably carried the day because as people were going through that process, I think it was the majority whip and the majority leader pronounced themselves that not even a comma, not even a full stop would be changed. So in that case, it also demeaned the very principles of public participation, because then it is just a matter of ticking a box that indeed there was an open window for public to participate. So I agree with you entirely that to some extent, politics holds sway a lot of times when it comes to these policy choices.
Yeah, but Boaz, what I would like to ask is, what are the, I'm looking for the right word, what are the costs, the ethical costs that we then bear, and I want the class to be attentive, what will be the ethical costs what are the ethical costs that we then bear when something like that happens? Because it can dismantle the social leaven that holds our belief in fundamental principles like democracy. So on the surface, it might look you had your day. But if the public did not have their day in court, you then create an unmeasurable level of discontent within the body politic of the people.
I think for me, the concern for me would be the issue of trust. It has an effect of eroding trust, so that then the public themselves may now feel like when it comes to governance, when it comes to giving their opinions, their views on things which matter, it really does not matter. So they may even stay away when next confronted with a similar situation where their views are being sought. For instance, the current, I think it is a review or a reform process. Hello? The current process of changing from this is the NHIF process to the social health process or that framework, where a new kind of an entity is coming into place. And indeed, I think the court did express itself on that, but the minister or the CS involved did indicate that there'll still be an opportunity for the public to participate. And indeed, I think the newly appointed chair of the authority, that is the Social Health Authority, also pointed out this, just that was on Friday, that there would be this opportunity for public to give their views so that only the right choices are picked. But given what then the Kenyans have gone through those processes of public participation, giving their views, indicating where they don't feel comfortable, but somehow their views have not been considered. I foresee a situation where many may give it a wide berth. And so that public participation, if then one was to look at the quality aspect of it, it may not pass the test.
Excuse me, Prof, can I ask Boaz a brief question?
Prof is not here.
Okay. All right. So, but Boaz.
And Othello, ask the class, Othello. It is a discussion. Anyone can jump in.
Yes, Boaz. You know, Boaz. Yeah,
Othello asks very difficult questions. Anyway, go ahead.
Is that in a case where the public opinion and the public views have been shut down, in a situation like, for example, in the finance bill, would you then say that the constitution has been rendered powerless?
First of all, Boaz, I think I went off dead completely, but I'm trying to come through some contingency measures. I hope people can hear me. I had posed issues on what are the consequences when public opinion is not given due consideration. I'm being very judicious with my words. Not being given due consideration. I'm talking to the class, not Boaz per se. What are the ethical costs of pessimism that is then created within the body politic, the citizenry of a country in the long run? So this then goes beyond the issues of the finance bill. I would want to invite comments, and I saw Othello was on the floor. I've just come back through some other means, but waiting for my computer to pick up. Can I have some comments on that?
Yeah, so Prof, may I go, or Othello is coming in?
Yeah, I just wanted Boaz to make a comment on my question, then now you can come in.
Othello, may you repeat your question again for the class? Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I was saying that, okay, to use Prof's word to make it more cautious, we say that the opinions of the public have not been given, the views of the public have not been given due consideration, making a major decision that impact the population that we are talking about. If the people we are going to impact are not given due consideration in their views, would you then say that the Constitution has been rendered powerless? That was the question.
Yes, maybe I'll just say something a little, but then I'll hand it over to the others. The question you are asking may not be properly addressed by us, because the only authority that can make such a determination is the court. For example, you can feel aggrieved and say that the public was taken for granted when it came to a particular matter, and gathering all that kind of evidence, and then even asking that then the court addresses itself to whether the decision makers were compliant with the provisions of the Constitution. I think that would require a little bit of a legal analysis. It would require a lot of the courts interrogating the matters further before that determination. But I think connecting this to what Prof had asked, the ethical costs that can bear when such a matter, you can say that the public has expressed themselves, the people have pointed it out in various ways, others including having placards, walking in the streets, that is even picketing, or writing memoranda, or even just voicing their concern through social media and other outlets. But then the political leadership remain adamant. And in that case, I think the effect of it may go beyond just one issue, like this was a finance bill. It can go into other areas where I think I mentioned, or what I was pointing out, the fact that trust erosion, when that happens, so that the public can no longer trust that the government officials are acting in good faith and that they are responsive to their views, to their concerns. When that happens, it means that there's a little bit of a distance being created between the leadership and the public. And with time, that is when you realize that people say you have a very unpopular administration. And an unpopular administration then finds it difficult really to take through certain development agenda, including even very simple ones like just taking a decision on how to, I would say, improve the living standards. I mean, that becomes a problem. So I say that it is something that can be looked at variously, but when it is a matter of determining whether the Constitution has been infringed upon and that there's any recourse for remedy, I think that one only the courts can determine. But in the public opinion, when you do not regard what they give, the natural thing is for people to pull back so that then they no longer feel obligated to participate or to contribute good ideas which they may be having for the improvement of their lives within this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Boaz, for that rich contribution. And I'm hoping that the class is speaking. Let's go to Eugene Situma and then Sam Nyabera.
Thank you, Prof, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I think for me, the public opinion plays a key role, but just like Boaz was saying earlier, when you look at some of those situations that appear to be dicey, they don't normally seem to carry the day, especially not just in Kenya, but in developing countries. And here I would cite an example of like last year when there was the issue about the lifting of the ban of GMO, where because of the drought situation, the country was in a situation where the food production was not adequate and we were not food secure. So there was that debate of what should the government do? Should we accept GMO so that people can be fed, or should we still keep it at bay? So in such situations, I don't think even the public were well equipped in terms of knowledge and information to really understand and give a weighty opinion, so to speak. And then I think the other one would be sometimes when you look at the paradox, and here, if I may pick the case of the LGBTQ, there was that ruling by the Supreme Court of Kenya that they have the freedom of association. Yet on the other hand, the Constitution of Kenya criminalizes such acts. I don't believe in such matters the public opinion was sought, yet the ruling was upheld. But you find like now in things that was mentioned, like the finance bill, even if there are hues and cries from the public, well, it just proceeds. So I think for me, there's a lot that needs to be done still. Thank you.
Very good. Sam Nyabera.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I want to join my two brothers, Boaz and Eugene, who have spoken. Boaz especially spoke very eloquently on the effects of ignoring public opinion. And I wanted to just add something that for effective governance, the government needs social capital. And in the event that the same government chooses to ignore the public when they are passing policies or legislation, they very quickly lose that social capital. And when you think about self-interests, this is when now you find the other opponents, the political opponents of the government, take advantage of such a situation and run to the same public that is now aggrieved. And that is how easily you will find social political uprisings that may lead to anarchy in the country. And therefore, it's a very important. And again, if the top government chooses to ignore public opinion when passing legislation, this is how easily it permeates down to the even very low levels of governance, where people think that if the top is not doing or it's not following the law, we too down here can actually disobey the law. And we end up being in what we call a lawless state. And in that case, the country can actually degenerate into anarchy. It can degenerate into lawlessness, and eventually it will become ungovernable. Or the other hand would be, it might end up actually turning into a dictatorial regime where the government does whatever it pleases, and the masses have just to, toe the line. That would be my contribution. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Oloch, is that
still? No, this now. So thank you very much. Yeah, this is a new one. So I will just go by what you have asked, and I note how you are careful with your words. So number one, to answer your question on the significance of this on ethics, and taking into consideration that in discussing ethics, you talked about it being a consideration of what is right and wrong. Up to that phrase, then it is right to listen to public opinion, to consider public opinion. The cost of not listening to or taking account of public opinion may be immense and significant. And so at this point, I think for us then we need to define a few things. What do we define as public when we are talking about public opinion? At the beginning of this class, I must confess that I had limited my understanding of public to only, consider the barazas that we have at chiefs and those that we hold with disdain. But I now have a feeling that the public, in fact, if defined, contains all the stakeholders who may be affected or to whom a policy is significant. It includes those who are ignorant, but it also, importantly, includes people who are well-versed in that area. And so for me, the first point of public opinion consideration is that policymakers do not have the monopoly of all the knowledge, and they may actually benefit from public opinion. And so that should be put in. My final point is, you asked about, can public opinion therefore be measured? And in reflecting on this, I think then we should also be able to determine the process of making public opinion. If I take an area where my friend Boaz Waruku is in, for example, civic education should be a precursor to soliciting public opinion. So that, for example, it is building knowledge, it is helping people understand what the issues are, and then out of that, giving them the opportunity to give their opinion on it. And so that measure, I think, would bring out two things: that either the public opinion is full of ignorance, or this public opinion is in fact informed and relevant. I will stop there and hand it over back to you.
Okay. Very, very interesting points there. And I hope that we are assimilating this as a class. When you are doing a policy, you are trying to find a way of seeking consensus towards a certain given direction. And there's no easier way than providing you, the policy analyst, or you, the political leader, providing the alternatives that will convince what I'm calling the polis, the body politic, to say, yes, we can't have a referendum every day in the country. It's not workable. But it will be very, very important for us to find ways and means of getting that opinion, because those are the ethical considerations, because everybody has that fundamental right to give their opinion. We do it through our leaders, parliamentarians, but also we can do it through now what is called public participation, so that we are all up to speed with the discussions that are going to affect our lives, because eventually policies then will be developed, will be turned into national laws or guidelines, and all of us being responsive citizens, we shall have to adhere to them. So it is very important for us to seek a way. Otherwise, the alternative is continuous discontent. When you have discontinuous discontent, you create inertia in the system. There's too much friction, and we can't move. That's why, much as people didn't like the bipartisan talks, the whole intention was to build consensus and avoid inertia and friction so that the country can move forward. These are some of the things that I'll want you to put into consideration as you do policy analysis. Any other comments? Let's go back to what we were reading. That summary, I would like for us just to look very quickly at that summary and see what it is telling us. So, Brian Mwenda, could you read us that summary? If you are online. Brian, are you there? Oh. No. We can't hear you.
Can I read?
Who is that?
Faith Zuki.
Faith, yeah, please, yeah. Read for us that, yeah.
Lesson summary. Anyone who is interested in healthcare had benefit from learning more about healthcare policy, how it works, and how it can be understood. There are many different ways to understand how health policies get developed, interested, and understood. Ethics. Ethics, or the understanding of what is right and wrong, plays a big part in health policy development and analysis. Similarly, politics can have an important role to play in determining what policy gets passed in which time and circumstances. Lastly, people's education levels and opinions and desires, otherwise known as public opinion, can play a significant part in how we understand and live with health policies. Thank you.
Thank
Prof,
you.
are you there?
Very good reading. Thank you very much. So
okay.
I want us to bear that in mind. Yes, I'm here. Yeah, thank you very much. I want us to turn to the next aspect in our 8-point agenda, and that is you have seen how difficult it will be for you to come up with alternatives, and you have to do policy analysis before you give us alternatives. And your text provides examples, although they are American examples. That's why I try to domesticate some of these aspects. But I want you to turn to your text and go to, remember we are under construct the alternatives. Construct the alternatives. And I want you to move to
step 3.
Yeah, we are on step 3, construct alternatives. I want you to move to sub-item that says conceptualize and simplify the list of alternatives. if you can get to that. Let us all get there.
The final list of.
Yeah? Josephine, what are you saying?
Yeah, I've seen it myself.
Yeah, we have it.
Conceptualize and simplify the list of alternatives.
Yes.
I'm not going to ask us to conceptualize, to read through that work, but I'll want you to spend some time in looking at that. But you cannot conceptualize the list of alternatives, and I want you to listen to what I'm saying, without research data. You must get research data. And to get that research data, you need data collection tools. So we're going back to research again. Data collection tools. And we have primary data, which involves collecting data directly from the subjects that the researchers are interested in. So you'll have to collect primary data through surveys, interviews, and direct observation. So that is very important. You will then understand that the advantage of primary data include that you will be collecting data on the specific purpose of this study, and then know the quality of the data you're collecting. So if you want to determine the occurrence of cholera, if you're in the health sector, you have to collect data. If you want to find out the level of malnutrition, you have to go to clinics and collect data. If you are in the education sector and you're looking at the completion rates, you'll have to go and collect data from your county schools. If you want to look at the dropout rates, you'll have to go and collect data through surveys, interviews, and direct observation. So you don't just, what I'm trying to emphasize is that these alternatives are not plucked from the air. You will need to collect data and convince us of the alternatives that you want us to take. primary data, and then there is secondary data, which involves collecting data that has already been gathered by someone else. So examples of secondary data will include, for example, you can go to NTSA and collect data on motor vehicle registrations, or hospital intake and discharge records, or workers' compensation claim records, or the enrollment rates in our ECD centers, in our high schools, or it may include a literature review of many research articles. That is secondary data. You will notice that, and I want to repeat, that there's no way we are going to establish alternatives if we don't do data collection, both primary and secondary data. Secondary data will also help us to look at case studies, will also help us look at different countries and how they have handled their health issues. The Obamacare in the US, how has it worked? How about the intended insurance cover program in this country? And when you're collecting data, it will involve different protocols for gaining consent. So remember, it then goes into the area of ethics also. You are going to collect both qualitative and quantitative data. And qualitative research, you will gain reasons, opinions, and motivations from people about the issue at hand. Like the management of El Nino. You will be uncovering trends. You would use methods such as focus groups, individual interviews, participation and observations. And you will identify emerging themes, as we shall learn when we are doing qualitative analysis. In quantitative research, you will use it to quantify attitudes, opinions, behaviors, and other defined variables. Quantitative, you will be using measurable data to create facts and establish past patterns in research. You will do collections such as online paper surveys, face-to-face interviews, telephone interviews, online polls. And you'll use programs like the statistical package for the social sciences, SPSS, to measure the data. And you'll have to learn aspects of data analysis. And if you don't like statistics, then you'll hire a professional statistician to run your surveys through SPSS. And all this data collection involves structured protocol. This means you have to follow certain ethical rules when collecting your data. Basic, like signing a consent form. Whenever you collect data from children, you need the parents' consent. And there are many sample consent forms that you can get from the internet. I'm saying here, the seriousness of your data collection will determine the exact protocol you would use, and therefore give us the viable alternatives that will provide solutions to the problem under policy analysis. You'll also have to deal with secondary data indicators, where you look at literature review and surveys. You do a lot of cross-referencing, and you use indicators that are universal. So if you're looking at the management of COVID, you look at different papers from different countries, and you'll find indicators that are useful. And by using indicators, you can create measurement which will provide summaries of a specific concept, like the mortality rates surrounding malnutrition in a given community, the spread of tuberculosis. You will look at the resurgence of HIV/AIDS now in the world again, and therefore be able to help in giving alternatives for managing, for example, HIV, the resurgence of that HIV. How do we know that it is good data? Because if the data is wrong, we can't construct the alternatives. It is vital that you make sure you have collected good data, and both primary and secondary data. And for this reason, you have there are identified 5 important concepts to evaluate your data. You will test for reliability, although we haven't done this in research yet, but you will test for reliability, the extent to which assessments are consistent. You will test for validity, the accuracy of the assessment. That means whether or not it measures what it is supposed to measure, validity. You look at integrity issues. This refers to the accuracy and consistency of the data that you have collected, and comparability of data. How does it look like the data from some other place? So I'm emphasizing the data must be good. Good data is reliable, is valid, has high integrity, and is comparable. You will give us good alternatives if you identify gaps in data sources. Remember, we mentioned gaps, the missing piece that you are looking for in your research. And I can just say, identify gaps in data sources, and in brackets would be ref your research methods notes. You will then, after that, be able to prioritize the alternatives. Prioritize the alternatives. And, you know, when we say prioritize the alternatives, we are simply saying start comprehensive, end up focused. start comprehensive, end up focused. And ladies and gentlemen, constructing the alternatives, I'm talking about policy options. That's what I mean by alternatives. Policy options or alternative sources or alternative causes of action. Or alternative strategies of intervention. I repeat, by alternatives, we mean policy options, we mean alternative causes of action, we mean alternative strategies of intervention to solve or mitigate the problem. If we were not going to be courageous enough to construct the alternatives, then there will be no need for policy development or policy analysis. And when we'll be looking at your policy briefs, which I would like now to get into next week, my thrust of engagement will be on the problem, will be on the alternatives, and then will be on the criteria, the standard with which you are measuring yourself. So, for example, with the current CBC, you cannot give alternatives to CBC unless you give us the criteria or models against which you're going to establish those alternatives. And you cannot talk about alternatives or the weaknesses of CBC if you don't have data, if you have not collected primary and secondary data, and if the data is not reliable, is not valid, lacks integrity, and cannot be compared. I want you to go back. Remember, policy analysis is research. So the value of identifying the gaps in data sources cannot be overstated as we look for alternatives. Today, we have grappled with ethics, politics, and opinion. You must bring them in the fold. And when you are looking for the efficiency or effectiveness of your alternative, then those three aspects have to be put into consideration. While you are looking at the gaps, I want you, as my students of policy analysis and measurement, to be very conscious of the cost effectiveness analysis. So let us not, one of the things that fails us, by the way, right from those ones in education, right from Ominde Commission, Gashadi Commission, Kamunge, Mackay, Koech, Odhiambo. In all those commissions, trying to reform the education system, nobody looked at the economics of funding those systems. So the cost effectiveness analysis or what you call the cost benefit analysis was never factored in strongly. That's why some of you are perhaps too young. When 844 was introduced, the late president went around doing harambes to put up classrooms for class 8 workshops. Sounded nice, but it was not viable. Because if you're going to have workshops, then you must have a very definite model of ensuring that every primary school in the Republic has a functional workshop, has a functional today with the CBC, has a functional, robust ICT infrastructure. The teacher's capacity is developed. So the cost effectiveness analysis is very paramount as you go into policy briefs next week. Otherwise, they all sound very nice on paper. And delegations will come to Kenya, will come from Kenya to Finland to see the best model of education. I mean, you are not serious. Because you can use Hanushek's model, the education production function model, and it will tell you what your economy can support in terms of a new approach to instruction and evaluation in a country. We cannot imagine that we can formulate an alternative like CBC if the cost effectiveness is not factored in. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also want us to worry about equality, equity, fairness, and justice. Equality, equity, fairness, and justice. I don't know how to explain this. Maybe the people here, the legal minds in the class, and the economists will amplify on that. You have had this, the proponents of 1 shilling, 1 vote. Are those equity or equality issues? You have also heard about counties that have been left behind, and so they need special funds. Is that equity or equality? Is that fairness, or is that anchored in the high principles of justice? All these factors will allow you as an analyst to impose a viable solution to the problem documented and structured as a policy. I keep emphasizing the legality A feasible policy must not violate constitutional, statutory, or common law rights, the legality. But I also keep emphasizing political acceptability. So a feasible policy must be politically acceptable or at least not acceptable. Maybe I should expound and say political unacceptability is a combination of two conditions: too much opposition and or too little support. And I'm hoping that many of you can do a very quick stakeholders analysis. Somebody mentioned those polls. And you can gauge the political acceptability of what you are throwing to the police or the public body. I think just administrative robustness and improvability of any policy is very important. Administrative robustness and improvability. So policy ideas that sound great in theory often fall under conditions of failed, often, let me repeat, policy ideas that sound great in theory often fail under conditions of field implementation. And I want you to think about that. So a policy alternative, therefore, should be robust enough that even if the implementation process does not go very smoothly, the policy outcomes will still prove to be satisfactory. There is also policy sustainability. Policies must endure for a period of time to achieve their desired impacts. So sometimes you can push policies, even at institutional level in your organization. But if they are not sustainable, you will not get the desired impacts. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my discussion on step 4. Step 3, construct alternatives. And step 4, select the criteria. And you have the class text, so you'll have time to go through it. And now we move to step 5, project the outcomes. Project the outcomes. Project the outcomes. Project the outcomes. And that will be our reading starting now. And I'll be posting an assignment, an exam, next class, a multiple choice class, on all the work we'll have covered under step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and the work I'm giving you on step 5. I want to repeat. We are now moving to step 5. And you will be doing that as reading on your own. And the next weekend, like today, we will have a quiz on all that we have covered on policy analysis from step 1 to 5. So you will read projecting the outcomes together with what we have covered under step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Any questions? And don't create confusion around this assignment. I don't know whether Dr. Mwaka is online. Is she online? Dr. Mwaka?
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, so I have said
Yeah.
we are going to do right from problem identification up to step 5, project outcomes. We have covered step 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are going to read project outcomes. And then starting now, the last 30 minutes, and then they will prepare for a quiz for Saturday, the coming Saturday. And after that, we'll be doing fairly well. I think I'm satisfied with how far we have gone. We shall then get to trade-offs. I'll discuss the trade-offs with them. And number 7.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah, under number 6, sorry, trade-offs under number 6. Any worrying matters? Any worrying matters? Because naona muda unayoyoma, and after the quiz, we shall now get into writing policy briefs. And hopefully, I was hoping I would be able to teach you how to construct cabinet papers, because that's also very important, a skill you need to have, whether you will rise to become a senior deputy director or a director. You have to learn to write cabinet papers from policy briefs. I hope that there is total clarity around the quiz. 30 questions, multiple choice, 1 hour. And there's also clarity about you reading now, starting now, step 5 on project outcomes. Othello.
Yes, Prof. This may not necessarily be what we are discussing right now, but it's still part of policy. It is national, and I wanted to find out from you. We used to have a sessional paper for projecting what the government plans to do over the next 5 years, something like that. But nowadays, I don't see the sessional paper. So what could be the problem?
It's what could be the problem? We don't have enough policy analysis. I had the privilege to draft the secretariat paper number 5.
You're breaking.
In Kenya for the century.
Sasa nani hutumika kama
Under the
defensive mail
tutelage of Professor Karega Mutai, one of the best minds I've met.
We really lost you. Your internet was off.
In terms of
We lost you quite a lot because of your internet.
And in terms of administration, could we mute Francis?
Yeah, Prof, we lost you.
Can we have
because of the internet?
yeah, that are you getting me?
Now there you sound better.
Could you please come again, because we didn't hear anything you're saying?
Yeah, quite poor internet there. And Frank, as the kids are, let's just a little bit give him some minutes. Any question? Any questions?
Okay, no question.
Just as Prof is coming on, I am typing in your marks, so you'll be finding a notification of your paper, the white paper. You remember the white paper, so that you can just know that some people even didn't write their names, so it's so difficult to key in. And you know, if you can, I don't know if you can see, these marks have been actually been graded, and let me see. As you can see, let me just use this. Basically, I'm doing literally hard. I don't know if you can see. Let me just take back my background.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof.
We can hear
You can hear.
Yeah. I first of all, I want to make. I hope you have picked.
Yes, now
our next steps.
I was just telling them
stage 1
did not write their names.
Up to step 1 up to step 5. We've finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is problem out projecting the outcomes. We have a quiz running from step 1, 2, 3, 4, select the criteria.
Prof, we still lost you. We've lost you, Prof. But as Prof says, as Prof comes, you see, I am entering your marks. As you can see, Prof has literally marked. Let me use a channel because you got very good. So you can see, I have to record literally, physically your marks as they are. And some people didn't even write, their names. Some of you did not write your name. Some of you did not write your numbers. You know, some of you did not complete the assignments. So you can see this is what I'm trying to enter. So hopefully you'll figure out yourself whether you've completed your assignment or not. And that's some of you getting some poor grades because you never didn't complete your assignment, and some I still have here. Like I have paper, it doesn't have a name, doesn't have anything. And I'm entering this. So hopefully you'll take care of when you're submitting assignments. Ensure you. Your assignments have full names. Ensure your assignments have full names. You must always write your name and your admission number. Otherwise, if you don't, when you are printing, it comes out like this one. Let me hide the marks. Like this particular one. Doesn't have a name, doesn't have any details. So, and it's incomplete. So make sure you complete assignments. Make sure that you complete assignments. Make sure that you write your name, the task, and always write the admission number. Of course, you know, I've given you what is it called? I've given you a cover page sample. Always go back to read and just insert the assignment, your name, and etc. That's my point today.
Carol, can you hear me? I've tried to come back.
Yes, Prof, you're back.
I want the class to note this. This is very important for me. Under policy analysis and measurement, we have done the eightfold path. We have looked at problem definition, assembling of evidence, constructing alternatives, selecting of the criteria which I've discussed this evening, and you're going to read project the outcomes, That means on Saturday, the quiz will be around those 5 areas. And so you are pleaded with to ensure thorough mastery of those 5 areas. After that, I will not jump to confront the trade-offs, but I'll want to get into policy briefs. And within the policy briefs, we shall cover confronting the trade-offs, deepening, focusing, deciding before we tell our story of the solution to the problem that we had. So that's where we are, and I'm content that we have given this course adequate depth, because next time we're going to do metrics again of policy. And Caro, do you have a course next term of this policy? The second part?
Yes, Prof. We have a leadership and policy just as a course now on its own.
Yeah. So I'll be deepening a lot of these aspects. Who is teaching it? I'm assuming I'm the one.
You will be teaching it alongside with research again. So that you can tie up with this one. It only makes sense that you teach the course.
All right, fine. So we'll pick it up there. Caro, did you manage to scan the assignments?
I've just been talking to them about it while you had broken down and letting know that some of them have no names and some of them have no numbers.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So trying to figure out and just trying to encourage them to be ensure that then also I noted that they have not been, some of them were not completing their assignment. So it's incomplete, and I know you put those marks. So as I release them, I'm sure they're getting a notification of release. I'm just trying to explain to them so that when they see their scanned paper, they understand why some of them have low marks and some of them are very high marks. And some of them may not get because they have to identify that this is their assignment. That means I have to go back to the e-learning and try to figure out who submitted and has no marks, and that could be their paper, and I have to literally look at word by word to figure out the owner of the paper.
Yeah, but also let them know our marking portal. Let them know that our marks will not come from heaven, although we are believers. Let them know that the portal will spit them out for us. Yeah? So this mark of this first assignment is ring-fenced as 20. So now they have 80 marks. They have 80 marks. They are going to do their second quiz. And I'll be giving them some other work. But already these 20 marks are ring-fenced. They're done. They're gone. Then we'll have 10 marks out of participation. So that makes it 20 plus 10, 30. So they are looking for 70 marks. Out of those 70 marks, we have still to do waiting for the two quizzes. The first quiz and the next, this one that is coming. So they should see how the marks are coming. There's no other way. Thank you.
Yes, Prof. And Grace did not print the first assignment, so probably you might have to print and bring it, because this was the second one.
Which first assignment? For some people?
Yes, it was for group assignment on mapping.
Yeah. I thought I marked some papers.
Yes, you've marked, but you've marked the individual assignments. And there's another assignment that was in group that is pending I'll ask her to download for you.
Yeah, but I have the research one on group work, the research dilemmas, paradigms, methods, and methodology. So
Okay.
that one, I've just finished going through it, yeah. Very good. The remaining 20
Excuse
minutes.
me, Prof.
Yes.
Dr. Yoya.
Yes, you want to ask Prof or myself?
I'm asking you a question.
Yes.
There was an assignment on mapping which was individual. So I don't know which one you were saying was group work.
Oh, yeah, that one has not been downloaded. There was one on the mapping, but there's also another one on the white paper. Turn it 1, 2, 3. Turn it 1,
Yeah,
2,
these
3.
two are individual. The two are individual assignments.
All right. So yeah, we'll remove.
Taslin Otieno has written, Ochana amebomoa hii kitu bana. What is she saying? Which is this one, alibomoa?
No, the doctor has just shown us the assignments, and Ochana has gotten the sort of 30.
Has gotten what?
No, Prof, what I was trying to do is I was trying to explain content that are missing, how you are grading and putting some content here. They will see that. And my key was that some people are not writing their information. So you wouldn't know who this student is and who they are. And I told them, this is how your marking was. So when we scan this, how they'll get. So I used Ochana's, and they seem to think that Ochana got a lot of marks.
Out of what?
20.
Out of 20, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if you get 15 out of 20 in this class, yeah. That's all I can say. All right, Caro, can I leave?
Yes, thank you so